Hello, bass family, and welcome to Everything Bass. I'm showing you the cover right away. This is it, man. Today, with today's bass book deep dive, we're going to answer the what, when, who, why, where, all that stuff to Stand in the Shadows of Motown, the life and music of legendary bassist James Jamerson. That is, of course, the what. We've already answered that, jumping out of the gate. This book is phenomenal. There's many elements to this book that set it apart from other similar biographies or analysis of James Jamerson's playing. The first section of the book talks about his history, talks about like his approach to music. It's so informative. Don't skip by it just to get to the songs. Please don't. We owe that to James Jamerson. He is one of our founding fathers. I mean, just his music is so exciting, and his bass playing is inspirational from beat one. It's just great. But learning more about the man is valuable. So definitely the first section, the first half of the book is all biographical and really gives you an understanding of this person and why he had such influence on bassists of all genres of music. Now, the second part that makes it super exciting is there's transcriptions of James Jamerson's some of his most iconic bass lines. Now, the play along music, and it's different. Like in my version of the book, it still came with CDs in the front, but I believe all the new versions, there's a download link. Whatever it may be, you get to hear these songs played by some of the biggest players in history. So when you get to there, I mean, just looking at the table of contents for the music charts, I mean, you have Paul McCartney, James Jamerson Jr., Will Lee, John Entwistle, Gerald Veasley, Pino Palladino, so many amazing bass players playing their favorite songs. Now, like we look at what's going on right before the chart of what's going on, there's a section of whoever played on it. So these are not the original recordings with James Jamerson, but in this case, James Jamerson Jr. playing on it, giving his input to it. Will Lee's intro is incredible. Geddy Lee plays on a track, and he intros his track, with just a beautiful statement. This is so powerful, and I really, give my respects and kudos to Dr. Licks, the guy who put it all together, to have the foresight to go, I want to have the transcriptions available, but not just those. I want to have these legendary players playing and paying homage to James Jamerson, because it just adds a whole nother dimension. It just opened my eyes to how powerful James Jamerson was. All right, so who is this book for? Really, it's anybody. My biggest fear is someone to go, oh, I don't really like Motown music. I really like such music. That's kind of irrelevant. James Jamerson's bassline construction was so beautiful. His technique was so amazing. His playing was so great in every aspect that it's easy to transfer it over to other styles. That's why, when I was the editor of Bass Frontiers magazine, I was very impressed with how many players from the metal genre, when I'd ask them their influences, people they were inspired, would say, oh, James Jamerson. Or if they even know James' name, because, again, he was standing in the shadows of Motown. A lot of times they say, oh, I love the Motown tracks. Whoever the bass player on Motown, amazing. Led Zeppelin had huge Motown influences. So don't say like, oh, I really only want to play X style of music. I don't really like Motown. That's irrelevant. But really getting inside the mind of what made these bass lines so cool, and his almost improvisational jazz approach to sometimes pop tunes is great, and can show you, especially if, like, let's say you're in a really extreme metal band, and most of your bass lines you're just either following the guitar player or just riding the roots of the chords going by. James, his examples can give you ideas of getting beyond that in metal. So it's for that's who it's for. Now, there's one thing I will say. All the charts are in standard notation with no tablature. So it is for, you can get out of it if you have got a good ear, and there's play along, tracks, so you can listen to the thing and maybe just, visually follow along and use your ear. That's a harder road. But it's also a real good reason why I'd say maybe learning to read could open up more resources for you. So, but if you're dead set against not wanting to read, this is a little harder book for you to go through. So under the category of who is this for, it'd be someone who has at least basic reading skills. You don't have to sight read. I mean, some of these charts are so difficult. I think people have a hard time. I forgot to mute my Ring doorbell, so you're going to hear a little of that here and there. So it's for anyone who wants to create better bass lines. It's for bass players who can read or read music. By the way, if you want to work on your reading and be prepared for like trickier sessions, this is a great resource. There's so many charts in this, and that you can really develop your sight reading and get more comfortable with like heavy syncopations, reading in odd keys, things like that. The why. I kind of cover that, and I keep doing that in these videos. That when I'm talking about who it's for, the why. This book is the why you would want to get this book is to really get your Motown playing down, to understand one of our most iconic people in our history, to develop your sight reading better, to come up with better concepts when you're writing your own songs. You're not going to be ripping off, heard it through the grapevine and trying to put it in your tune, but there's elements you can borrow. So that's the why. When? Pretty much any time. I mean, again, if you're not a reader, maybe you're a beginner bass player and you're not a reader, sight reading music. The when, you still get it early on because of the whole biographical section. It's important for us to know the people that really shaped our instrument and created the path that we're walking down, paying respects to these people that came before us. So as an absolute beginner, the day you buy a bass, you could buy this book, read the first section, and listen to the tracks. Listen to the tracks, because then you're listening to people that have attained what you want. They've mastered their instrument in a certain degree that you're hopefully going to emulate. So listening to them play, hearing these examples, these bass lines, and how they're played. Even if you don't know anything about the theory, technically you can't play along, listening is valuable. So, and it's funny, my initial notes, I said maybe, more advanced beginner, but I'm understanding that. I'm changing that. Get this at any point, because it might inspire you and direct you to the right path to take to get to where you want to be. Use it as gasoline for the tank that is your studies. And so yeah, get it anytime. Get it anytime. And here's the best part, where? It's available everywhere. I looked a couple places online. I checked a couple of the bigger music stores that have a sheet music section, and it's everywhere. So you can just do a Google search and you'll be able to find multiple places. You know what? But I also want to say this. Support your local music store if you can. If they can order it for you, go in, ask them, or call them and ask them, hey, can you get me this book? Usually they all adhere to the same price. So it's not like there's a price difference. But, I always try to support local music stores every chance I get. So it'd be cool if you could do the same. But if you can't get to the music store, your music store doesn't stock music, sheet music, things like that, then of course, order it online. Just don't do without it. So there you have it, man. One of the greatest books in my collection. I refer to constantly. I use it as a resource for my sight reading. I just get excited about Jamerson's playing. And my background is metal. I mean, I started as a rock and metal bass player. But from early on, hearing his bass line to what's going on changed me, man. It opened my ears, opened my eyes, inspired me, and I hope it can do the same thing for you. So what a great book. Standing in the Shadows of Motown. Learn more about James Jamerson. Listen to these great legendary bass players playing his tracks, and get to it, man. All right, brothers and sisters of bass, thank you so much for stopping by. Do you have a book you want me to review, or do you have like recently in a comment on a previous deep dive, someone mentioned about developing their reggae? I'm on it. I will get on that. That'll be probably the next series or next set of videos I do. So thank you. Please put in the comments section what resources are you looking for. Is there an area of study you want to get to and you're hoping I can maybe point you to a book that's been important to me? I will gladly do it. All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you at the next video.